Welcome to the Soul Journeys podcast. My name is Jennifer Longmore, and I am founder of the #1 Akashic Record training school in the world. As a seasoned light worker and ascension worker, I want to bring you the show to provide you with the divine guidance and tools that you need as a light worker and change agent to navigate this great awakening. So if that is something that you're craving, then you have come to the right place. Think of this high vibe podcast as your guide to the changes that we're seeing in the world so that you can be supported in navigating the new paradigm. Leave it to me to provide you with the divine tools, resources, and experts that will support you in navigating this once in a lifetime epic event. So thank you for pressing play. Let's dive in.
Welcome back, everyone. I am very excited to introduce you to a fellow awakened warrior and Canadian, Amberly Lyons. We're probably going to be talking about the stuff that's going on in Canada right now. At the time we're recording this, there's a trucker convoy going on and all kinds of drama that's kind of captivated the world stage. So we'll talk about that. But before we do, I want to share a little bit about Amber with you. Amberly is the founder of Chakra Girl Co. and the Rituals by Chakra Girl App, which will be released very, very soon, which is your daily dose of spiritual rituals for the modern woman, sharing Amberly's video library of meditations, chakra activations, manifestation, and healing practices so that you can pick and choose what tickles your fancy that day. She's bridging her audience to higher consciousness through daily frequency activations and drawing parallels between luxury, abundance, soul purpose, and multidimensionality in a digestible way. She's also the host of the podcast Chakra Girl Radio, which I have had the honor of being on. So I highly recommend you listen to that, where she interviews top experts and spiritual celebrities alike to share the insights, rituals, and energy hacks that have led to their ascension. Her audience walks away from each episode with tangible practices to implement into their own daily routines. And today, welcome Amberly, by the way. Do you want me to call you Amber or Amberly?
I mean, I prefer Amberly, but I'll answer to anything.
I just don't call you late for dinner.
Exactly.
Well, I don't even know where to start because we are like two peas in a pod. We have a very similar perception of what's going on in the world. We have a very hard time getting along. So I think we're going to get pretty tongue-tied today because there's like so many thoughts flooding my head right now and they all want to come out simultaneously, but I'm trying to tell them to line up and be orderly like we are taught in our indoctrination camps to line up when the bell rings. So all right. Well, before we dive in, I think it's always helpful for everyone listening to hear a little bit more about you if they're not familiar with you, because, you know, it's always fascinating. Like all things being equal, we come out of the womb and we eeny, meeny, miny, mo our way through life. And then we end up in this place, right? And we don't necessarily know that it's going to happen when we're like 5 years old and people keep asking us what we want to be when we grow up. And then we end up here. So how did you get to this place where you built this amazing company and viral podcast and so on?
Yes. So, I mean, I think like so many of the awakened, we had those little kind of whispers when we were younger. Like I was obsessed with witches even before they were a trend. I was obsessed with Joan of Arc and astrology and all those things. And I was even obsessed with the Bible. Like I would read the Bible and kind of just pick and choose the pieces that I felt I wanted to implement and kind of leave the garbage behind. And I was I mean, obviously once you find boys and you find all the things in high school and you kind of forget about those things. And then in my 20s, I was just kind of a hot mess and was, dating all the wrong guys, partying all the time. And I started doing yoga. I would say yoga is like the gateway drug to spirituality. And it really brought me back to those things and those questions. And I was in a meditation class and I noticed that I had this like lump in my throat and I was talking to my teacher about it and she was like, oh, it's probably like a blocked throat chakra. And I'd kind of heard of that before. I didn't know much about it. And then I immediately just started deep diving it. And I started just kind of self-healing. So I started doing visualizations and using crystals and was able to heal that block in 2 weeks. And then I was like, wow, what else can I change? Like, my life's a mess. Like, what else can I do? And I just started, like, one by one. I just went through and healed all my chakras and went on this journey. And at that time, there wasn't really anyone like relatable talking about this stuff. And so it was just kind of I was doing it on my own. And then there was just part of me that was thinking, you know, why aren't there any modern, young, fun interpretations of this out there? And I really wanted to create that. So I actually started with a crystal and gemstone jewelry business for modern girl problems. So we had like a hangover bracelet and a shopaholic necklace and things like that. But it was like,
oh my God.
Yeah. So it was like, we were like teaching about chakras, but in like a fun way. And then everything came with like a meditation, and I just started, and then people really loved the meditations. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to start creating these. And then I had so many people reaching out to me. It's like, no one really cared about the jewelry that much, but they were like, how do I unblock my chakras? Like, you started a business. I'm inspired by that. How do I start a business? So I very quickly was like, okay, I think there's something to this. Like I unblocked all my chakras to find my purpose and start my business. So I'm like, how can I like bottle that up? And so I created something called Chakra Girl Business School, where we went through each chakra and we activated, we did clearing, we activated the energy in that chakra, and then we took the lessons of that chakra. So for example, the root chakra is all about your foundation. And we took those elements from, okay, what are the foundational elements of a business? And we built, we showed instructionally how to do that. So there was kind of like the yin element of it, which was like the energy and the clearing. And then each chakra also had like a yang module where we were doing like the actual foundational like business steps and showing people how to launch a business. So did that for like 6 years, and then had another awakening. And then things kind of transformed back to foundation of ritual and goddess energy and multidimensionality. And I started teaching more on those kinds of things. And then now I'm stripping away again. I don't know, so many people are feeling this energy of stripping away right now. And now I'm going back to foundation again and launching the Rituals app. So yeah, that's kind of been the journey so far.
That's amazing. I love all of the, I don't know, I don't want to say twists and turns, but I think you get what I'm saying, right? Where it's just like,
it was dynamic, very dynamic.
Yeah. And it's not until, of course, we get to this place and we tell our story that we're like, oh yeah, I see how all these dots connected, even though it might have felt like it wasn't always like a direct line, right? That something else was bigger. So thank you for sharing that. So here we are now. You've got this business for spiritual entrepreneurs, well, really spiritual folks in general, helping a lot of women, get activated in a lot of different ways. And then 2020 hits, and what happens?
Oh, yeah. I would say the first couple of months of everything happening, I was a bit of a hot mess. I knew right away that like it was not what it seemed, because I'd been hearing murmurings about vaccine passports and forced immunizations for years before COVID. And I knew like right when COVID happened, I was like, okay, so this is how they're going to do it. And, then it really brought me on a deep dive. I actually started, the first deep dive I ever did, and the first kind of like awakening I did was in 2018 around Pizzagate. And I got really, really deep into it and into like, who are the players, who are the elite, what's going on. So when this happened, I kind of like, it wasn't like a super huge jolt of like, oh my God, what's happening? It's like I already kind of knew that nothing was what it seemed, but it kind of led me more on a journey of, okay, how am I how am I going to share this without people thinking I'm crazy? And how can I, and at first I thought, oh, I need to wake people up, or I need to share this information. And then I quickly realized it's not my job to wake people up. But if people are interested in it, and I can kind of like drop the hints of, this is what I think, and these are some things to look into if you're interested, but not in like an aggressive way. I just kind of like really slowly felt into that, but it was kind of touch and go in the beginning, because there was so much with like BLM going on and having to really be mindful of the energies and the feelings that were coming up for people. And of course, like it's still, you know, something that we have to be really mindful of, because obviously, you know, even our own prime minister said that if you're not vaccinated, you're a racist. So it's always like that fine line. But yeah, I feel like there was like a major kind of like toggling that had to happen in that first little while there of like, okay, what can I say and how can I say it?
Mm. Yeah, how did that racist stuff even get tied in with the vaccination? Like what, I genuinely don't understand the logic of that.
I don't know. I really don't either. But like, if anything, the vaccination is racist. Like, I don't know. I really don't understand the logic. And I think it's literally like, are you on the left or are you on the right? And if you're on the right, you're racist. And if you're on the left, you're vaccinated. You know, like, I think that's as far as people's brains can go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with you. I do think that, and I know many people that don't identify as white feel that the bioweapon, well, I mean, both bioweapons, the cocoa bioweapon and then the jibber jab bioweapon are actually going to be affecting different races differently because of, well, really all kinds of things, right? But that there's a lot of people that suspect that this is actually a racial genocide.
Yeah.
Masking as a, you know, biohazard, non-biohazard divide, but it's actually meant to target certain races and wipe them out.
I 100% believe that is the case. And you can see like the video footage of them being so adamant about, you know, first in line are, you know, are people of color for the vaccination. And we want to make sure that we're going into all of these, you know, Aboriginal reserves and making sure that they get first in line. And it's wild. Like, how can, like, but I think I think people see through it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know anyone that I know, and I've spoken with just hundreds and hundreds of people that would identify as a person of color over the last few years that have been clear right from the get-go what this agenda is, and that they're very clear who's out to get them, right? So if they think, you know, when I say they, meaning the government, the Freemason puppets, if they think that people are stupid about what they're actually doing and who they're targeting, they're completely underestimating just how insightful people are who have been the most victimized of the system and have had no choice but to become very awake to what the system's really about and their divide and conquer agenda and so on. So if anyone is awake, I actually think like ratio wise, I think it would be people that identify as a person of color more so than even someone that identifies as white, as far as like the per capita or whatever we're going to say, right? Of the amount of people that know what's really going on. And that's not to say that there isn't racism, of course, within this whole awakened movement, right? Because we've got the whole Trump Kool-Aid faction, we've got the, you know, like there's various things that are going on. So in any movement, there's going to be some racism, but from an ideological perspective, I think it's really more about, well, I mean, I can speak for myself and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we have spoken before about this, right? That it's really about us standing for humanity.
Exactly.
We're standing for everyone.
Exactly. And like you said, like, I think people who identify as people of color, like they don't trust the government because they have been so marginalized, and they have been, you know, there's so much going on and so much in history that, you know, I know I'll never fully understand, but you know, that's the truth, is that there's something that is, I don't know, there is just like so clear that that people are being targeted, and like you said, it really needs to come back to becoming united, not further dividing.
Yeah, exactly. And well, I mean, that's a whole other thing, but maybe that leads nicely into the trucker convoy, because it's a layered thing, right? What's going on right now in Canada, all eyes are on Canada. People are getting different reports. I've personally just been getting my news from people that are actually on the ground, that are actually there taking live video footage, my actual friends that I know personally, that I know are pure and pristine in their awakeness. They're not plants, they're not controlled opposition, on the ground in Ottawa right now. And I know you know many people as well. So let's unpack this. What's your perception of this convoy? How do you view it serving us, maybe not serving us? You know, like just in general, what is your perception? How do you, what do you think we're learning from this? How do you think it's benefiting the movement, or maybe not? And we'll kind of take it from there.
I feel like the idea for it was planted, and that it's for them to have a reason to implement some kind of martial law or some kind of, or state of emergency, which they've already done. Because when when that's in place, they can override the laws. So I think the idea for it was planted and part of the intention. I think that what happened was, and I wish I could remember who gave me these words. I can't remember who said it, and I wish I could, but they said what happened was, because the movement was in movement and they were literally crossed a nation, there were ley lines of love and unity planted across the nation. So vibrational upgrades actually happened in a geographical way across many, many people. And that's something maybe that they didn't expect. So I think that it really did, it did awaken people. It did create more frequency of love, which is a positive. But do I think it's the thing that's going to save us? Do I think Trudeau's going to now eat his words and go back on mandates? No, he's Klaus Schwab's golden boy. He's not. He's got a plan to put in place. But I think there are things that were positive about it. I think a lot of people are waking up to the fact that the news is lying and not showing, an accurate description. I know just personally from my own family, who's, some people are kind of on the fence of awakening. Some people are so freaking asleep, it's crazy. And, the ones that are kind of on the fence are seeing it, and they're like, wow, like this has really shown me that there are two different realities happening here, what you see on the news and what is actually happening. So I think that's a positive. I think that for the ones that are still wanting to believe that this is a fully racist movement and white supremacy, I think that, again, where do you go? When you're so afraid, you've already put something in your arm, and you don't want to admit that anything that you've, altered your body for is not the truth. So I think for some people, it's making them more aggressive and angry. But I think anything would do that. And I think even when the truth comes out, that's the thing, it's like the truth is already out. I don't know what it's going to take for people to believe it, because, if they haven't now, who knows? But yeah, I just think there's going to be further anger when they're confronted with the truth.
Yeah, I agree. Today, the day that we're recording this is February 8th for everyone listening. And, these podcasts live on forever. So that's why I want to timestamp it, because as of February 7th, I think about 7:00 last night, Eastern time. Again, I just have a pulse on, I have contacts that are actually there giving me live footage. And so the police chief, that was just, we knew it was going to happen. I think on Saturday, I went to one of the sort of sub convoys. By Sunday, they had already declared a state of emergency, which we knew was going to happen, just like you said, right? Because we know that like 99.9% of the truckers and the people that are supporting the truckers are all well-intended in this movement. But we know that it's too well-funded to be just a bunch of, and on top of that, it was too well organized, and we had already known, and we know that they control the narrative and the counter narrative. So something like this is never going to happen on their watch unless they want it to happen. Just like they've been planting paid hoodlums for this thing. They did the same thing in Germany for their anti-mandate march, and other countries as well, right? So they put 100 goons on the world stage and have them set fires out of nowhere, and put up swastikas and stuff just to prove the narrative of being a bunch of misogynistic, racist people, right? And you and I, and I'm sure most people listening to this know that that's not the case. But anyways, so state of emergency was called on Sunday. 2 days later, now an emergency injunction for a noise infraction. And so anyways, but the police chief, who clearly, we already would know he would be owned, but he's now just proven that he's owned because he told his fellow or his subordinates that if they were caught sympathizing with the protesters, that they would be arrested for a variety of infractions, including treason against their own country, right? Because it's been apparent that the cops on the ground, not all of them, but most of them are like jumping in on the Macarena, like there's all kinds of like dance parties and like, stuff. People are shoveling snow despite things. They're very protective of the memorials. They're never in a million years going to destroy a memorial. That clearly is a paid operative by the government. They're feeding the homeless. It's all love there. And, but anyways, with the noise ordinance, we can see it heating up, right? Just like you said, we know that martial law is the end game. I don't know what your opinion is. I feel like they've been trying to poke the bear for a while and we haven't taken the bait because we've been too passive. I think they actually wanted us in martial law easily like 6 months ago, if not earlier.
Yeah.
But we just we weren't taking the bait. So they had to find something, right? That would create that.
Yeah, and from what I've heard as well is the only arrests that have been made have been from counter protesters.
Yes. Yeah. And they did a great job at arresting like this. I think if he was 5 feet tall, I would be shocked. This elderly man, I'm going to say he's easily late 60s, maybe early 70s. And it wasn't a stage thing. You can kind of tell when the videos are staged and so on. But this, I've confirmed it with other people. So they're just abusing their power. I mean, think about, and shame on you. And if you are an Ottawa police officer and you're not standing the fuck up, or someone that is related to them, or you're related to someone and they're not standing the fuck up, I hope you can sleep well at night, that you're choosing to be on the wrong side of history, because you should be ashamed of yourself. Some of the footage I'm seeing out of there, like you're paid, you went into policing to claim to protect the people, and you know damn well that this is a load of shit. And you're seeing it verbatim. You're on the ground seeing that the exact opposite is being reported on the news, but not only reported, completely embellished to the point of ridiculousness on the news. And you're still standing for your government. Fuck you.
Yeah.
A big fuck you to you.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. People be like, that's not a light worker thing to do. Well,
yes, it is.
You know what? Being a light worker is about speaking truth.
Exactly.
And that's just the truth. So honestly, if you're military or police and you're not standing the fuck up for the people, knowing damn well that both police and military are infiltrated by Freemasonry, the one eye symbol, the salute, all that shit is all Freemasonry stuff, and you're still choosing them as your alliance, then you know what? We're done with you. Like, we're trying to fight for you too, and you're not standing up for us. What the fuck do you expect us to do?
Well, and I think they need to unite. It's like, if there are, I'm sure there are at least 50%, if not more, who are awake, who actually know what's going on. Like, if they were to come together and, speak out, well, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take people coming together, but people are too afraid. It's like, they're really just afraid to lose their paycheck for the most part. Like, that's really what it boils down to. And it's like, okay, well, you took this oath to, in the military, you're not there to serve the government. You're there to serve the people. If you're in the police force, you're there to serve the Charter of Rights. You're not there to serve the government. So, remember who you work for, people.
And yet they do work for them, right? Because that's who hires them, and that's the system that they're indoctrinated in. But like you said, I mean, they're benefiting from this movement. It's restaurant owners right now. Okay, think about it. It's truckers, farmers, tow truck operators, and restaurateurs and other brick and mortar businesses that are actually saving the goddamn country.
Yeah.
And this isn't just in Canada, by the way. This is around the world.
Yeah.
It's not the fucking police and military that are standing the fuck up for their people.
No, absolutely not.
And now you can hear me getting honey badgerish again. See, in my human design, everyone, if you don't know this, I found this out from my human design coach, because I'm like, why do I get like unrealistically visceral and like fiery about this stuff? It's because I am designed to see whether people are worthy of having the power and influence that they have, and whether there's integrity issues. I just have always seen that since I was very young. So this is why I get upset. You know, some people get upset when the underdog's taken advantage of, and that's part of my thing, right? But it's really like, are you worthy of holding power and influence? So when someone's not, I see it right away, and the manipulation and so on. So it just, it creates a sacred rage in me.
No, and I think like in
I know
general,
you well, what is your thing, Amberly?
oh no,
What is your honey badgerish?
For
Like,
me,
what?
it's integrity. Like if you, I don't know, like stand for something. And I think I've seen that a lot, like even with like friends of mine, where some people are like, yeah, you know, I just don't really like look into it. Like there's nothing I can do about it anyway. So like, I just don't even bother looking into it. I'm like, well, like what? Like you don't want to know what's going on. You don't like, you're just going to blindly trust and be like, oh, well, like, you know, I'll just put this in my arm, like there, I'll like, you know, everyone else is doing it. Like, that's what I don't get. Like, I always want to know the integrity behind it, and I want to know the intention behind it. And that's for me, like when someone goes back on their word, or when someone is dishonest, or when someone, like, I just hate when someone tries to pull wool over my eyes. Like, that's what makes me go crazy. Like, even like when even like, I don't know, like I can't, for example, like I can't watch something that has bad acting in it, or I can't watch something if someone is trying to pretend that something isn't staged when it is. I'm like, what? Like, how do people not see how staged this is? So yeah, I just don't, that gets me going. Just integrity, and like, don't lie to me. Don't fucking lie to me.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I don't know if anyone else, if any of you can relate, just let us know in the show, like if you can comment on the show, because yeah, as an intuitive person, I think it's almost comical actually, right? When people try to insult our intelligence.
Yes.
Well, it's like insulting my intelligence and my intuition, right?
Yes,
like we're
exactly.
not a dum-dum. So if you pick up on the stage stuff, then you're probably just highly in tune with whether something's a psyop or not, I'm guessing, throughout all of this.
Yes, exactly. And like, I mean, truly most of it is. And yeah, I mean, part of me just wishes that other people could see it, and I think they do. And that's the thing. It's like, I think people can see it and they just choose not to.
Yeah, it is astounding, isn't it? The amount of people that have said to me, oh, how do you know all this? Well, how do you not know this?
I know.
You've been locked up pretty much for 2 years. You've not gotten any of your rights back, even when you got jibber jabbed, even though they promised you that, and they took away your rights. Putting something into your body that's 100% poison and 0% health benefits.
Yeah.
Right. And you were promised that the world would go back to normal, and it didn't occur to you in 2 years to do a little bit of research to find out, like, who are these a-holes that are deciding arbitrarily that you're just going to be locked up because you're a prisoner, because you've been a bad boy or girl, and like what even is that?
Well, and then they're like, well, like, these two didn't work, so I guess I'll get the other one because that'll make it work. Like, I'm like, what? Like, aren't you mad? Aren't you like, never again? Aren't you like, this is crazy? Like, I can't believe I did this and it doesn't even work. Like, that's where I would be.
Yeah, coming from people that would gladly be stomping back into Walmart when they bought the magic bullet and they got it home and it didn't work, right? And they'd be asking for a refund.
Exactly.
They wouldn't keep buying it.
Exactly.
Oy, 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 oy. But this is what we're up against, right? Is the layers of consciousness within the awakened community.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and so that's the other thing too. Like, I mean, the people who are, you know, claiming to be spiritual. I know we talked about this a little bit on my podcast as well. You were talking about some of like the bigger players, like the really well-known people. But I think even like in my circle are girls that, you know, we started our businesses around the same time, or, you know, and they are like a spiritual, you know, claiming to be a spiritual, intuitive, whatever. And I'm kind of like calling bullshit on that now. Like either there's no integrity to stand up for what's real, or do you actually not see it? Like either or, like it's not acceptable to me. And I don't think everyone has to be, out there like posting all the things. And like I said, I don't think everyone has to be out there waking people up. I don't think everyone out there has to be doing it in like an aggressive way that doesn't feel aligned for them, where it's like that kind of like warrior energy. I think there's ways to do it in a more just like energy perspective, and talking about sovereignty and talking about, there's ways to talk about it without actually talking about it. And like, there's people who I'm not even seeing that. And I'm just like, okay, like, do you know what's going on? Or are you just like not trying to lose followers? Like, I don't get it.
I think it's that.
Yeah.
I do think it's that, because, and what people aren't realizing, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I can speak for me that I've only gotten more business from speaking truth. I have lost business, and I say that in quotations because that's, I'm okay with people moving on. I actually think it's better because I need to be working with people that are give enough F's about what's going on in the world that they're using their business as a platform to go and make a difference, and who aren't putting their head in the sand and pretending. Because I think too, what you were saying, right? Like, I think a lot of spiritual people think, well, if I just pretend that it's not there, if I just don't put energy towards it, it'll go away. Well, no, we don't need to like fixate on it 24/7, but we do need to have some awareness because it's affecting people's lives. Like when I was in forensic social work, I had to know what was going on in the world because I worked with people all over the world. We had a ton of refugees at one point coming from Somalia into Canada. I had to know what was going on in Somalia so that I could, out of love and compassion for my clients, actually have a semblance of understanding. And, that would be impossible, obviously, but a semblance of political understanding and empathy for what they were going through. So I wasn't an a-hole when I had to go and deal with them, right? And I had a sense of, hey, they're in a lot of trauma right now. Like maybe I should factor that into my, my plan before I, lay down the law on them, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
My point is that the personal is professional, which I think I hear you're saying, right? And like, I know for me, and I think, you can say the same, that people when I'm hiring someone, right, I want to know where you stand. If you're drinking the Jesus juice and you're all pro numbers and cocoa's the worst thing ever, and it's, and you're boosting yourself up, like we are incompatible. We're literally speaking two different languages. I can't give you my money because I can't respect you. And I also don't view you as a pristine channel. And I only work with pristine channels that they're going to come into my field and give me guidance on anything. So I need to know where people stand. And I also feel that people need to know where I stand. And it's only benefited me, not that I did it for that reason at all. I just can't even help it. It's almost impossible. I'd rather just speak out because my tongue was getting too swollen.
Yeah.
I was looking back, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but I was looking back at, because I know you were awake before 2020 and I was as well. And I'm sure many of you listening were. And so when we went into lockdown, I was like, oh, sweet Jesus, here we go.
Yeah.
They're really going to do it. All right. Yeah. And, but anyways, when I look back to my social media posts in March of 2020, well, February and March of 2020, I was speaking in a very coded way, like, hey, everyone, sometimes the things that we see are on the word stage aren't always as they appear.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone, sometimes it's good to ask, why are they showing me now? And what are they trying to distract me from, right? And I was speaking in a more coded way, or I was like, hey, everyone, here's some ways to boost your immune system. And here's how to, focus on life versus death and like all this.
Exactly.
And then by the end of 2020, I was like, listen,
exactly.
Here's what's going on.
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you.
Exactly. And I feel like, but that's what I'm talking about. It's like, why can't people even do that? It's like, that's what boggles my mind. It's like, there's so many ways to like say it without like having to like worry about, I don't know, like whatever it is that they're worried about. So it's like, but I mean, same with me. It was like a total transition where where I like had to kind of dip one toe in and be like, what are my people going to think? But I literally never get shaded. I don't get hate. I don't get people angry. I had one girl this weekend message me about like racism in the convoy because I posted a picture of the convoy. And I just whatever blocked her. Like I just don't have time for that. But yeah, like I'm pretty lucky. Like my following, like I've manifested a really great following of people that are awake and that get it and that actually want the information and are, you know, and are going to question. I even have some people that maybe aren't 100% awake, but they'll be like, hey, this is interesting. I'm going to look into this. So, I mean, yeah, I just think that whatever level people are comfortable stepping out and like taking a stand, I think we just need to say something.
Totally. It's, I don't even know how it's possible. You know, this past Saturday, when I went to the convoy, I told so for most of you that are listening know that my husband and I are literally we are the polarity of the world under one roof. Like I am the never wearing a mask, never, you know, always being a pure blood type of person in my household. And he's like, when can I get my next booster? And this is all just a health issue. And why would you question the government? They've only demonstrated that they care about me because look at, they're giving me free vaccines, right? So this is where we're at. And so it's been an interesting dance, and that's a story for another day. But on Friday night, I said, hey, tomorrow morning, I'm going to go to this convoy. I didn't even finish my sentence. He said, don't get arrested. And I started laughing. I was like, okay, you had literally a gazillion choices of what you could have said to me, but you told me not to get arrested. First of all, like all you're doing is showing me that you're just a puppet of the propaganda. You literally are not applying an ounce of critical thinking, right? You know your fellow Canadians. And yes, of course, there are racists in Canada, and there are racists in there'll be racists showing up in every one of these movements. Absolutely. But they're not walking around carrying their flags. Those are all government plans, right?
Exactly.
And really, even in the BLM protests, holy shit, there were a ton of planted racists there, right? Like it's going to be everywhere. But back to the arrest thing, I thought, isn't that interesting that he didn't ask me why, or he didn't say have fun, or he didn't say, you know, do you need to borrow my flannel? Because it's cold here right now, right? He didn't say any of that. It's like, all right, don't get arrested. Well, you know what? I'm not going to get arrested because I know how the police are, and the police are, for the most part, on our side, even though, as I mentioned before, they're not standing the F up.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll inspire someone to today. Maybe I'll start getting harassed by them. Who knows? But you know, for the most part, they're with us, right? More with us than against us, I guess, is what I should say. And so I'm not expecting to be arrested. First of all, I'm not doing anything to get arrested. And I also am very intuitive. And if I was guided to go anywhere where I was going to be at risk, my guides would just tell me, you know, that I would be interfered with in some way that I wouldn't end up going to that event, or I'd be inspired to leave early or stand somewhere different or wherever, right? But I thought, you know, like I'm willing to die for my freedom. I'm willing to get arrested for my freedom. Like at what point? Because at this point it always has been this way, but we've been so complacent that now it's about choose your heart. You know, people are whining about, oh, it's loud. Well, suck it up, buttercup. Like people are standing up for you
while you're stuck in your home. Like, and that's what you're complaining about is the noise. Like you're stuck in your home, you have no freedom, and you're complaining about the noise. Like I highly doubt that's actually happening.
You only know it's noisy because that's right. You only know it's noisy because you're locked up in your house. Exactly. If you were not locked up, you would be out on the town and you wouldn't know that there was horns honking. Exactly. But regardless, you've lost your freedom for 2 years. You're on the cusp of losing it forever. But of all the things you could be offended by, like your government lying, the media lying, being locked up for something that's not what we're being told it is, and the list goes on, right? You're going to be offended by some honking horns. Yeah. I get it. That's inconvenient. But you know what's been inconvenient? Me having to bob and weave stores and bullshit for 2 years so that I can find places that honor mask exemptions. places that are going to honor me not showing papers, and, you know, all the other things that come along with that. And I've been willing to move around the inconvenience because I realize there's something bigger at play. And all things being equal, I'd rather be inconvenienced for a few weeks with some honking horns than lose my freedom for good. So like at this point, we're at choose your heart.
Well, and I find it funny is that the people on
choose your heart.
Well, exactly. And the people on the other side are like, what do you mean freedom? You have freedom. Why do you think you don't have freedom? It's not your right to be able to travel. It's a privilege. I'm like, are you kidding? Like people actually think that. People actually think that. It's wild.
Yeah. And meanwhile, for you and I, and really anyone born in a Commonwealth country, it clearly says on our passport that we can move around freely. In fact, I'm going to pull out my passport right now, which is a Canadian passport. It says, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Canada requests in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, all those whom it may concern, to allow the bearer to pass freely without delay or hindrance, and to afford the bearer such assistance and protection as may be necessary.
Yeah.
So this should allow me to not only move freely through my own goddamn country, but any Commonwealth country.
Yeah.
As a Canadian citizen and a Canadian passport holder who is a member of the Commonwealth, and yet I am not, and you are not, and everyone else listening is not. So
well, I can't remember if I told you this, but I went away like the day before they changed the rules. Let's say before you had to have the armed candy to travel. So I went to Mexico. We looked at property, bought a place. I'm like, I need an exit plan. But then when we came home, the rule had been implemented, but they always have to let you back in because it's your country. And they were trying to get me to go and take a test. And there was a police officer there who looked like he was about 17 years old. And I was like, is there a law that says I'm not allowed to go home right now? I can't just like walk out that door. And he's like, yeah, there is. I was like, what's the law called? He's like, well, it's a public health order and that overrides the law. And I was like, that's not true. I was like, no, that's not true because you can't override the charter. And the charter says that I can come and go from my country freely. I don't know the exact wording, but, and he was like, no, it overrides it. It's a law. But I just left and he didn't say or do anything because they can't, because like he knew he couldn't do anything. So they don't even know what they're taking a stand for.
And that's true. And for everyone listening, I hope you are educating yourself on the difference between law and legal, but understanding the legal parameters and bullshit that's been created by the Freemasonry, because you know they create loopholes in their laws, right? Which is the legal system, not the law system, because they want to see, you know, they view us all as stupid. They really do. We're just commodities to them. They view us as dumb, ignoramus, you know, humans. And but they love when humans figure out the loopholes. Anyways, to your point, and this is happening all around the world, so many cops they don't even know the law. And so they're spouting, and bylaw officers, right? People that are getting arrested for not wearing masks. It's like, a mask is a bylaw, dum-dum. You're seriously arresting. Like at most for a bylaw, you can give someone a fine. So fuck off with these arrests. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
they really don't.
You're welcome, everyone. Today is F-bomb fiery Friday. Not really, but
Friday.
Dropping them like it's hot today. Yeah. I mean, what's a podcast without a little bit of fire, right?
Yeah.
And we should be fired up about this. I mean, I think that's what we're trying to say, right? Is if people aren't having sacred rage over this, if this isn't offensive to your soul, which I can't imagine you'd be listening to this podcast if it wasn't, like, what is going to need to happen to light a flame under your butt to move beyond complacency, move beyond someone else do research for me, move beyond something feels off, but I'm not going to bother doing an iota of research.
Yeah.
We're now at this point where it's choose your heart. We're literally at this point. And I'm not saying this as fear porn. I'm saying this as just being a realist and being honest with all of you, that we're at this point, we're at a tipping point, and now we get to decide. And it's going to be by numbers. It's not going to be by energetic intention that we tip the scale, right? We literally need to be fully embodied in what we're willing to stand in our convictions over, and get out there and mobilize and do some stuff in the 3D beyond sharing memes on Facebook and beyond being an armchair warrior, to get out there and be a contribution in a meaningful way. And yes, of course, sharing our frequency is impactful. Of course it is, right? We're all coded though, with different codes here. We're all going to be nudged to be certain places, to say certain things, to host certain things, to, offer certain things through our business, because those codes are a contribution to this bigger plan that we already agreed to be here in. Then our job is to listen to those nudges instead of resisting them and sitting on our couch and thinking that's enough.
Yes.
So, Amberly Lyons, we could talk forever, and I'm going to have you back on anyways if you'll agree to come on, if your ears are not burned off yet from all the
I love it. This is the sacred rage I love to be around.
Yeah. So before we wrap up just for today, because we'll have you back on and we'll talk about some other things, but you've got the app coming out, and then you've got chakragirlsco.com, which is your website. How is your business helping people right now? Because I know you've gone through some iterations in how you're serving and what you're offering. So what does it look like now if people want to, benefit from all the juiciness you have going on in your business?
Yes. So we have a program called Goddess Magnetism, which is literally, it's like I'm awake, now what? And it's helping you really decode and access that deeper purpose of how am I meant to share this with the world? And we talk about like the different types of spiritual light workers. And we talk about the different roles that we can play, because like Jennifer was saying, there's some people that are meant to be the warriors, that are meant to be on the front lines. There's some people that are meant to be sharing their frequency and sharing their light with people in their community in a different way. There's people that are meant to be the people that are picking up the pieces of people's health once they've received the arm candy, or once they've gotten, sick with this man-made situation. So, there's people who have different roles. So it's helping you access not only like the purpose and how can I implement this, because a lot of people are already doing it, but also just kind of going deeper into, we're looking into like our soul DNA, looking into what are the powers that I have, what are the things that I've done in other lifetimes, who are the people I'm meant to connect with, and just doing that really, really deep dive to your intuition and your multidimensionality to really take it to that next layer of your expansion, while also impacting more people with your light. So we're teaching a lot of different tools, but also it's really just a very individual process. We decided just to have it as a self-study because we want you really like diving deep inwards. And then there's also a Telegram group that's attached to it where you can like ask questions and connect and like build community with other awakened women, which is amazing. And then the app it's not as much of a tutorial, but there are like the very, very deep rituals so that we're being consistent with our own light work and making sure that we're maintaining our energy hygiene so that we can serve for the collective. Yeah, and I think that's just such an important piece right now. It's like there's so much coming at us, and I think it's just so like the number one most important thing. I always say we need to teach, like whatever your purpose is, it's for you to teach the thing that has awakened you the most, that has impacted your life the most, that has created the most light in your life. And that's why I've had so many changes, because I keep changing, and whatever brings me the most light is what I want to share in that moment. So for me, I really just brought, like I said, there's been this like stripping away, and since 2021, I started to feel that this stripping away of things that don't actually matter. And the foundation that was underneath was literally just daily light frequency work. And that's what's going to keep us all going and keep us all going deeper on our own journey, whether that means starting a new business or going deeper with what we're currently sharing. So yeah, that's the contribution.
I love it. And I will say, like, you are it must be one of your archetypes, because you just have some sort of special sauce in being able to create community.
Yes, I do. That's why it's called goddess magnetism. We're teaching you your own magnetism too.
I love that. So for those of you that are listening, especially if you're feeling a little isolated and or you're just feeling like you want to start going into other communities and seeing what other people are doing and get activated by the medicine that's available to you in those spaces, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you go to chakragirlco.com and follow what Amberly and her associates are up to. Because I don't know why I use the word associates, not even really a word I use. Your kindred colleagues, I don't know.
Yes.
What do we call it? But anyways, I'm so grateful that we got to spend this time together today. And I know we're going to have you back on. So thank you for being here. And thanks to all of you for being here as well. We will see you all very, very soon. And please be sure to share this with everyone you know. We want as many people activated to pristine truth as possible. So until the next time, see you again soon, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you absolutely loved what you learned today, I would love for you to share with your friends by leaving a review so that more people can learn of the show and be impacted by the information we're sharing here. If you aren't already following me on social media, be sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook by searching for Jennifer Longmore. And I'd also love for you to visit my website, www.souljourneys.ca, and claim your free soul acceleration system while you're there. You'll become a VIP recipient of my ever popular daily messages from the Akasha delivered to your inbox each day. With love, and namaste.